We'll go ahead and get started. And welcome to our monthly meeting. We've got Charlotte Straus here tonight, who's going to come up a little bit later and talk with us about her experience working on her MFA. And so we'll get to that in just a few minutes. We wanted to start out talking about our 20th anniversary meeting and show, which is next Saturday on the 9th. And we've got a Zoom meeting for anyone that's participating. We've got a Zoom meeting coming up this coming Monday at 6:30. November the 3rd at 6:30, and Wendy sent out an invitation to everyone for that. So look for that. If you're participating in the show, just go ahead and join that if you can, and we'll do some final. There'll be some final information for everyone there. And looks like on the JCC show, we've all the images have been submitted, and so we should have selections made for that show coming up in December in the next week or so. Let's see here, and I think that's about it. So if Charlotte wants to get started, you can come on up and would you rather stand? Okay, I'll move my computer.
Oh, I think I can just put it here.
Okay.
Okay. I'll get Is it? Or is it the one plugged into your computer?
I think it's the one plugged into my computer.
Okay.
So, or we could just use my computer if you want. Or is that? Okay.
I think you just need to.
Okay.
What do I do now? How do I do it that way? Yeah. I'll do it. Gotcha. Yeah. I did. I retired. Yeah. So, but I mean, I still take pictures, but. I need to do something up here.
Okay.
Let's see. When Jeremy Fox come up, so write you down this down. I told her, I was saying some of them sad.
I have a list. I'm putting on the list.
And you have to see them.
Okay. That's what I said. I'm gonna, that's what I meant was on the list. It's like, it's like an 8 or something.
68 years old, 55.
Are you seeing it?
Okay. Yeah.
You don't, sure never let you see it. Do you mind each line? Is there enough?
Then on
The only thing is that that's the computer screen, but it's not going any farther than that one.
I was.
I did, but,
Oh, no, if you have dibs on it,
oh, are you sure?
absolutely. She said she wanted it and she had it.
Is there
So is there?
a different screen that you could select on your computer?
Okay, I'm gonna arm wrestle Denny for it, so I'm gonna pay for it anyway.
It's not, my computer's showing what you're seeing, but
I-
I don't think Monty's the name.
Trying to get
That's.
what's on her
you would've-
computer screen on these screens.
okay.
How old is this?
Um,
Are you sure that works good?
yes, because it was showing up, but it was only showing like the,
So if I,
Is that your screen?
if I have.
that's my screensaver.
Oh.
No.
Good
Oh, I have to
supplies,
pull
yeah.
it
Monty has
over here.
I'll check him out.
Yeah, go to your screen.
Okay, well, I won't press pay until you find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we can rearrange your display and you can put it back like you want it later. So you can see. Yeah, so go to.
What's this for? For a book.
Drag that.
Let's make sure it's really Emily trying to do this.
Yeah, drag it back over.
You should have it down.
How did we live?
Are you?
Cause if I go,
You're good.
When
I'm good.
Sorry, it's
Dave got your-
confusing it.
Renee and I.
Mm,
And so I think we've finally got all of our technical glitches resolved.
Yes. Wait, let me see. 1 second.
Maybe what we could do first is have our new participants on Zoom just kind of introduce themselves, if you'd like to.
Just trying to find my notes. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me just.
Outdoor magazine presentation. We're just gonna turn that one off.
You have great notes, Charlotte.
There we go, solved. It's, I don't know why it's not.
Okay. Have my notes.
Always the best first take things turned off, turn it back on.
Nice. Okay, well,
Thanks, Robin.
we'll finally get started after some technical difficulties. My name's Charlotte. I'm a photographer here in Nashville, and I just started an MFA program, which is what I'm here to talk to you guys about, in photography. And a couple of you might recognize me. I recognize a couple of you. I've been to a couple of meetings before, and I was in the exhibition last year at Scarrett Bennett. And I was first introduced to Snap via Emily. I took a class at Nashville State, and we were in the same class with same darkroom. Yeah, with Beth Gorham, which was really great. But it wasn't just like a happy accident that I was in the class. I took it intentionally in order to meet other photographers in Nashville, and it worked. And here I am. Oh, okay, hold on. There we go. Oh, this is gonna be some back and forth. Okay, so a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Austin, Texas. I moved to Portland, Oregon, for undergrad in 2016, and I graduated with a BA in studio art and a focus in photography, in 2020. After graduating, I moved to Santa Fe for 3 years, where I continued to make photos. And then when I moved to Nashville in 2023, I started like more seriously prepping to apply for an MFA program. I did a workshop last September at the Humid in Athens, Georgia, and it ended up being with the previous director of the MFA program that I'm in now. And then I spent all last winter writing my applications, interviewing, and then making a decision on what school to attend. And then I'll talk about why I wanted to get an MFA. My goal is to teach photography at the university level. So first and foremost, an MFA is a teaching degree. So I needed to start teaching. Additionally, I'm interested in improving my technical skills. I think I have a long way to go with that, especially in relation to film. And then the conceptual integrity of my work, I'd really like to continue to improve that. And I chose a program that is well known for being super conceptual heavy. And then I also am interested in expanding my network within the photo industry, just continue to meet more people. And then ideally, I would like to continue exhibiting work, and I would love to participate in like higher level group exhibitions with other artists that are making work in similar topics. So hopefully the MFA will help me in reaching all of those goals. So next, I'll kind of go through like the work that I used to apply to the program with. And I ended up applying to 6 schools and I got acceptances from 3 of them. So I got accepted to Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York, RISD in Rhode Island, and the University of Hartford in Hartford, Connecticut. And yeah, so sorry, it's hard to go back and forth here. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about my practice too. I shoot large format, mostly 4x5, black and white, and I make silver gelatin fiber prints, which I brought some for y'all to look at after. And then I mostly shoot with the crown graphic, and I'm interested in the materiality of the medium. I think maybe just coming from like a studio art background, that's kind of, yeah, I'm interested in that. And I think, yeah, it's influenced by that. And then some themes that are in my work are like the overarching theme is the relationship between people and the natural world. But within that, there's like a subset of different themes, such as man-made versus nature. Where I lost my femininity in nature. And go. Again, man versus nature. The degradation of the natural environment or animals. The like cultural distancing of like of humans from natural and like wild spaces. And then, oops, sorry. The next few images that I'll show were all made after I was accepted into the programs and then preparing for the first session of of grad school. And then I'm continuing to explore the same themes, but also adding in a few extra themes. Ooh, no, back. So I'm interested in the mirroring of human emotions through versus like animal emotions. And then the recreation of like natural forms in like man-made materials. And also like the movement of natural materials via man-made decisions. Okay, and that brings us to my decision. I decided to go to the University of Hartford. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about the program. So It's like a pretty unique program. It's different than like a traditional 2-year graduate MFA. So it's a limited residency program, which means that we don't go and move to Hartford, Connecticut. We stay working in our studios, but then we meet up at specific times and like do coursework, meet with professionals in the field, and then yeah. So it couples intensive on-campus sessions during summer with travel, or with a travel component in the spring and fall, and it like follows a blended learning model of research, independent study, and online critiques, with on-site classroom learning. And then also the amazing thing about the program is that they can take different faculty from all over the country, and they're not tied to kind of like the traditional like university setting where like if they were to hire on a person, they would have to come for the whole semester. So whenever we meet for 2 weeks, that person maybe has more room in their schedule to come for 2 weeks rather than a whole semester. And then the reason why I chose this program was, besides not having to relocate, which is great, is that there's like an international aspect. So we get to travel abroad with the program. And I love the idea of making art from like a global perspective. I think also the fact that you are like mostly at home in your studio, you really get to like figure out your like own you really get to figure out your own motivations and like studio processes outside of like the institutional setting, which like I've heard from a lot of MFA grads is that like they'll go to the MFA program and then after it's done, they'll feel like just super lost, and have struggle continuing to make work because they don't have those processes set up. So it's really great that you kind of already do that by going through the program naturally. Um, okay, next slide. And then this is the faculty. There's only 3 full-time faculty in the program, or who run the program. Michael Varenwald is the new director. Robert Lyons is the person who started the program, and he's the person that I did the workshop with at the Humid. And then Chikara Umehara lives in Tokyo, which was really cool, that because the program is like not in person all the time, that we can get someone that's like not an American. And he actually went through the program, I think about like 10 years ago, and then they ended up hiring him on because they liked him so much to be full-time faculty. Okay. And then, yeah, just because the program is so like unique, I figured it would be good to like break it down up here. So you get 2-week sessions every summer that you're in the program in Hartford, Connecticut. And then during the fall and the spring, you go on trips with your cohort and instructors. And so our first trip that we're going on is this fall. It's going to be in December. We're going to Los Angeles. And then in the spring of this year, we'll be going to Berlin, Germany. Next fall, we'll be going to Tokyo, Japan. And then the spring of 2027, we'll be going to Athens, Greece with the program. And then the cohort itself, so it's about 8 to 12 photographers. We have 11 in my cohort. And they range in age from late 20s to mid 40s. And everyone is from all over the country. So like some people live in California, some people live in New York City, one person lives in Minnesota, and another person lives in Texas, and I'm here in Tennessee. So we're all over the place. And yeah, if you have more specific questions about the structure of the program, I could answer them after. But I figured I'd give kind of an overview. Okay, so I participated in my first summer session this summer. This is a picture of the cohort with the old director, Robert Lyons. So that's all this, that's me right there. And then, yeah, so the first week, the summer session's 2 weeks. So we spent 2 weeks in Hartford. The first week we did an intensive analog photography course with a guy named Jesse Chan, and then midday.
Are you gonna tell us more about what that was? Is it actually?
Yeah, I'm gonna go into it. Yeah. And then we had the history of the photo book in like just after the lunch every day. And that was for 2 weeks. And then the second week, the morning and the afternoon, we had critiques with guest critics that include Mark Steinmetz, Irina Rozovsky, Alex Oak, and Hannah Whitaker, which I'll talk about more about them and the whole experience. Okay. So yeah, the first week we had our analog photography intensive course. It was 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. The person, Jesse Chan, who ran it, is a photographer and printer based in New York City. And he has like an insane amount of fine art printing experience. He's printed for a lot of really famous photographers. And he's currently the darkroom coordinator at Penumbra Foundation. And he teaches at the International Center of Photography and Parsons New School and Hartford. So he's all over the place. He's a really great instructor. And he was just a wealth of knowledge. So in the course, we went over large format photography and medium format photography. So they had us all get out rail cameras and we used them. In a lot of ways, this part was review for me because I already shoot large format and I print in the darkroom. But it was really great to like, I don't talk more about it, but like have Jesse's eye on stuff. And then, yeah, so we did, after we shot the film, then we processed it and printed it. And yeah, getting to work with Jesse was really fascinating because his printing style was like completely different from my printing style. I typically split filter print or like I think it's called like variable contrast or something. But Jesse did not have us do any split filtering. He just mostly had us at a 2 filter. And he pushed our prints a lot darker than I would have thought to do. Like he was like, keep going farther, longer. So that was really interesting. And then like the clarity that we were able to get out of the prints was really amazing. And then this was the most like exciting part for me because it was the thing that I hadn't done before, which we got to do see printing in the darkroom. And they gave us some 4x5 color film to shoot with, and we used their like gang darkroom, which ended up becoming like quite the bonding experience for our cohort because there's like 11 of us shuffling around in the dark, like all trying to do something different at once. So we had to communicate like really, really well in order to not like run into someone's door who just opened it or like, collide head first. So that was really cool. And then you can see like kind of the process of getting the C print to like the correct color in the image there. And then now I'm going to show the images that I took while I was in Hartford. So at the end of the first week and at the end of the analog darkroom course, we had a little critique of just the work that we had made that week. And it was really amazing, like to see how everyone was like working in the same space, but they created like vastly different work and it was all really, really strong. So that was really cool to see everyone. So I'll just share mine. These are my color photographs. Okay, and then after that, we had the history of the photo book course. So every day, the professor Victor Sira would come in and he would just bring us a ton of books to come and look at. We'd come talk and then he would lecture about like the history of the photo book, like where it came from. So that was really cool. And then Victor Sira is a Venezuelan-born photographer and book designer, and he's the co-founder of Book Dummy Press. And he also like told us that he has sat on the Guggenheim Fellowship panel. So he's kind of maybe a big deal. I don't know. But he was very much like our sage. Like the darkroom course was very chaotic. Jesse was very high energy. And then Victor was kind of like more subdued. And you had to listen like really closely to what he was saying because like everything he said was like insanely smart and like insightful. So that was really cool to work with him. And then, so week 2, we continued to have the photo book course, and then we had critiques with guest critics, which was 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. Each student had 1 hour, so we did 3 people in the morning and 3 people in the afternoon, and it was very long and grueling week. And then, yeah, so I'm going to talk about the critics that came. And then instead of like going through kind of like who they are, like you can ask me after about them if you don't know about them already. I figured I'd tell you about like kind of their personalities and how I felt they critiqued our work. So going to that. So the first person is Mark Steinmetz. He was super straight to the point. He's like kind of a no bullshit kind of guy. And I think a lot of people in my cohort were like a little bit confused by his communication style at first. I think they were like, what does he mean by that? Like, da da da. But like, I think they were like trying to read into it too much. I think he was just like a very literal person and like what he said he meant and he didn't like mean it any other way. And kind of like a funny thing that someone told us about before we went in and then got to see in action is that like when the prints were like hung up on the wall, he would like go down the line and like point at each photograph and like say different things about it. Not in like a mean way, but I just never seen that before. And then the next person is Irina Rozovsky, who's married to Mark Steinmetz, and they run the Humid in Athens. And Irina was kind of like the polar opposite of Mark, which is kind of funny because they're married. Where he like might come off as like kind of gruff, she was like exceedingly warm. And she was less focused on like the literal interpretation of the work and more concerned with like the emotionality within the images and like the intention behind them, which was, it's cool to see like both of their perspectives. Ooh. Okay, and then the next person was Alex Soth. And by the way, these are like work by them that I'm showing. Yeah, that's not him. Yeah, so Alec was, I think, the critic that I was like kind of most used to, or like the critique style that I was most used to from undergrad. It was like supportive, but like constructive and like very highly intellectual. He did ask if I had a title for the work that I showed, and I told him what it was, and he told me that he hated it. So, maybe I'll get a new title. I don't know. And then the last critic was Hannah Whitaker. This was her work. And then I think she was the critic that I struggled with the most. She was just like a little bit more like brash or abrasive. And I felt like at some time her like feedback was a little bit sensationalist. There were like things that were brought up in some of the critiques that just were like kind of out of left field. So I don't know if it was like wholly her responsibility, but it was interesting that that happened, and I felt like, yeah, I don't know, she like glommed onto that. Okay, and then these are like my personal reflections from like my critiques that I took away. They were saying that like the relationship between people in the natural world is a little too broad because that's how I like brought the work to them. And they said that I should dive deeper into the iconography them using and the histories behind them, which I think is a really cool way to kind of like get started in like doing deeper work. And then Irina said that the dissonance between like some more atmospheric images in my work and then some super crisp, sharp ones was an interesting like avenue or treatment that I could use. And then they also did say that there were some photographs that were like more straightforward that I could like kind of try and push past. And um, then also just to like up the consistency of my craft, which is why I'm doing an MFA, so I can get more technically advanced. And then I'll show you guys some work that I've made since being back in Nashville after the 2 weeks in Hartford over the summer. So basically, once we finished the 2 weeks, we had kind of like 3 weeks off. And then we started meeting with our advisors, and we meet with them every 3 weeks while we're not in person. And we have to have 20 to 25 new images to show them every 3 weeks. So it's quite a large amount of volume that we're trying to get done. Okay, and now I'll open up the room for questions. Yeah.
Let's say iconography. I hear that all the time. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like things that are used as like symbols, like in culture. So like an eagle or I don't know, I'm trying to think of what else. But things that kind of like become larger than just like the thing itself.
Fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So symbolism, but also kind of, I mean, I think some people distinguish symbolism from iconography, but
Yeah.
iconography is maybe sort of more, well, thinking about the conventional, you know, there's like conventional iconography and then there's like doing it a different way.
Yeah, for sure.
When you were all sent off onto your own, so in this
Yeah.
summer program, you're doing analog photography
Mm-hmm.
with big cameras. And then post that, is everybody off shooting their own way or
Yeah, definitely. So
you're still doing that kind of work, but other people are back to their digital cameras or their collage or their whatever?
yeah, so I would say I don't think anyone was doing collage. I think if they were, they would probably be able to do it. Some people, their kind of systems were shaken up a little bit. Like there were a couple people who had never like developed their own film before or like whatever coming into the program. And so like one person, like as an example, like had never done that before, had never stepped foot in a dark room, and now he's shooting only 4x5. And yeah, he's kind of fun. Yeah. And then so a lot of people, I don't think anyone is shooting digital. in the program, or in my cohort at least. I think there might be some people who shoot digital, but not in my cohort. So it's like a pretty film heavy program. Yeah.
Then with the 25 photos that y'all had to show them, did you have to process those yourself? Or could you go get them processed?
You can get them processed. I process mine myself because I'm shooting black and white, so it's like not that hard to process and I have access. But a lot of people do send them off. I think it's like, do you want to pay for lab fees or do you want to do it yourself?
How do you get them digitized if you're printing them yourself?
Yeah, I have a scanner. Yeah, it's a flatbed scanner.
One of the areas of feedback that you got, that you mentioned, was atmospheric versus sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And the photos that you showed us that you've been doing since that still had that range, I shall say. So what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I personally, like, I think she said it as a positive thing, and I think I agree. I think that I'm trying to describe like a lot of tension, like tension between like the relationship, or tension of that there exists in the relationship between people in the natural world. And so I think like there are so many ways that you can like visually talk about tension. But it can be in like the small choices, like, you know, to have something show up as more atmospheric versus like super sharp. It's like kind of, as you're like viewing the work, you're going back and forth and you're kind of feeling like this weird, um, you know, some images are resolving and some aren't. So thank you.
I mean, okay, sorry. Because I know you might see something and you have an idea. How much of the out of focus, in focus do you play with? Like the ones where you were focused on the very back and it was like maybe a little piece of it that you could see that was in focus.
Oh, this one? Yeah, I actually meant to talk about that, but that's like, I've been experimenting more and like trying to figure out like what is working and like what isn't working. And that image specifically, let me see if I can go back to it. This one you're talking about? Yeah, that image specifically, like my idea behind making the image was like to focus far back. And so because when I saw the like scene, it was basically like this wall, like of that had been like, I don't know, like mowed back or whatever, of like plant material along the side of the road. And then like the forest like went on behind it, but it was kind of this like very sharp like border, I would say. And so I'm interested in kind of like talking about those sort of like random borders that like kind of show up, and they are elucidate like how we feel about the environment in some way. And yeah, so it was like a conscious choice to like bring the focus like farther back. Because I was thinking like, oh, I could pull back and I could show a large picture of the, you know, road and the sidewalk and the wall of like leaves and then the forest. But like, I feel like this is a much more like visually interesting image.
You're just alluding to one of the things about film. You choose. You're not just clicking on.
Mm-mm.
You're making conscious choice.
Yeah, because you're not just like taking a bunch of pictures. You have to like think. Yeah, you're much slower in that, especially if you're shooting 4x5 as not 35 millimeter. Mm, yeah. Currently I'm not, because of my camera's capabilities. I'm shooting the crown graphic, but all of the photographs that I'm shooting are verticals. In order to get that, you have to tilt the camera on the side, and then you lose all of your, you know, tilt capability, but, or your movements. But I'm planning on getting a super graphic, which you can rotate the back with. And so then I will have all my movements. Yeah.
No, you're looking at both of them and just the different colors in the monitor, they communicate something totally different. Does
Mm.
anybody see that?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
if you want contrast, you go to the left. If you want softness, you go to the right.
They're toned differently too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay, monitors.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like you have to think about like when you're presenting and stuff, like how something is going to show up on a monitor. Especially like if you're shooting black and white, you have to watch your blacks because they can like just blow out.
Which one of these would you say was truest?
I haven't printed this image actually, so I'm not sure yet. Once like you like print it in the darkroom, then yeah, that's kind of the end of the evolution for me at least.
So what's your thinking behind shooting vertical?
Yeah, because the medium is like, it's like so intentional. It's like a silver gelatin print, takes forever to make. I kind of wanted to like bridge the gap between like something like super analog and then like presenting it in kind of like a digital format. Like our phones are vertical and that's like what we're seeing all the time. So it's like to kind of keep in cohesion with like the visual language that we're used to on a daily basis, as opposed to like completely break from it. So
Off subject, but I've noticed myself trying to make sure that I do not, if I'm recording something, I don't do it vertically. Because if I want to put it on like a TV screen or something like that, I'm gonna have to have it horizontal. But then, like you said, with visual language changing, they might start making TVs where we're watching things.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I guess my like vision for these is that they go in a gallery, so then when you're walking, you're kind of like, brought into it. It's also like more of a window than it is like a landscape, if that makes sense.
I was looking to see if Robin was still here, because she was one of the first people that said verticals are what magazines often are looking.
Yeah, that was mentioned in the critique as well.
I just had a question. It's probably silly, but so I shoot mostly digital, so I take several pictures of the same thing. I was wondering in your studies, are you doing like multiple pictures of the same subject and then picking the one you like the best, or are you just taking like, no, this is my one picture and I'm taking it?
Yeah, definitely not, because film is like you can't see exactly what's happening. So I actually rephotograph the same thing multiple times typically. Like this image I've shot on 3 different occasions. And I'm still like, this is not a finished version of this image, so I'm still working through it. So but in that sense, it's a lot slower because I can't like shoot it and then look at it right away. So I shoot it, go back, develop it, look at it, see what's working, and then I go back and I try it again.
So you typically just shoot once, like you don't shoot 3 and then go back.
With 4x5, you typically shoot 2 exposures of the same image just in case like one piece of film gets messed up. So shoot 2 and then and they're the same, and like sometimes I'll bracket or like sometimes I'll like shift my composition a little bit, but like mostly keep it the same. And then if I don't like it for whatever reason, then I would go back and try it again.
When you're in your in-person sessions, your 2-week sessions, are you all shooting the same film? Printing on the same paper?
Yeah, when we were there this summer, yes, because they gave us a bunch of paper to use, and they didn't even make us cut it up for test strips. They just said make a whole photo test strip. We were rich in paper this summer. I don't know if that's normal.
Is it fiber paper?
Yeah, we were printing all fiber.
What was it, do you know?
It's Elford multigrade. And They did, they gave us like a supply list before we came, and so we all had basically the same stuff, and they gave us some film out. But if you wanted to shoot something else, you could. We also talked about like different developers and stuff that would work for different scenarios and that sort of thing.
Development, were you using?
They had a Sprint set up, but the instructor, Jesse, recommended PyroCat HD because he prefers, I guess this is his perspective as a printer, but that he prefers that you like overexpose at least one stop, but probably two, depending on the scenario or the lighting scenario. And then because Pyro Cat HD has a restraint in it or restrainer in it, then it won't blow out your highlights completely. So you can really overexpose and get like a ton of depth in your shadows without losing your highlight detail.
I'm in a commercial version of what we used to make in a lab called Pyro. That same thing Angela Adams used in
Probably, yeah.
whatever it was.
They sell it at the photographer's formulary out in New Mexico. I think they've been out of it recently, but yeah, it's the same, I think. Maybe some additions or whatever, but yeah.
That's something.
Gives you a whole different look. Your regular business.
Yeah.
I know you said you're gonna do like multiple trips overseas
Mhm.
next year and
Yes.
LA this fall.
Mhm.
Like, what is the criteria or like, what are you gonna do when you're there? Do you know?
Yeah, not really yet. A lot of the program is like to be discovered. It's not like there's a lot of moving parts, I think, and it's different every time. Last year was the first time that they went to LA. They've gone to New York City before, and then they switched over to LA. And I don't think anyone's ever been to Athens before, but that's like a new addition. So we'll see. The year above me will be the first people to go do that. But yeah, so I'm assuming we haven't gotten like the full brief yet, but I'm assuming that we'll have to bring 20 to 25 images again, because that's what was required this summer. And then we will have guest critics. We will be in class most of the day. We'll be there, I think, 8 days this time. And then we'll be working at this place called The Reef, which is like owned by a photographer, and it's kind of like a multi-use space. But we'll be able to have their like studio spaces in order to do our classwork and stuff.
And you'll shoot while you're at each location?
Yes, I don't. When I think the most shooting that happens is the first like 2 weeks because of the darkroom course. There isn't another darkroom course, I don't believe, or at least right now there isn't. And so that's mostly what we were shooting for, is to get that done.
Y'all are making images, I'm assuming y'all are not going out with each other, everybody's kind of doing their own separate projects for the most part.
Yeah, sometimes we would shoot together, but we wouldn't be shooting the same things. That's the thing about this program, is everyone's work is like vastly different. I think with a traditional MFA program, it's like you take 6 people in a city and you're like make work that's unique about the city, which I think is maybe a little tricky, or like in this space. But like with our cohort, like everyone's working on like vastly different projects. So like one person is working shooting like little league softball, and then one person is working like shooting like vineyard workers or grape pickers in Sonoma, California. One person is photographing like Puerto Rican people in New York City, so it's a big difference in all the projects.
So I notice the trips you're taking are to large
cities. So
Mhm.
I suppose the photography is going to be mostly urban, not out in nature, or
Yeah,
is that the idea? And you're going to be lugging large format cameras around in urban.
yeah, I don't know, like, yeah, again, how much we'll be shooting when we go there. I think it'll be mostly like we're bringing work that we've been working on the whole time. But I think people do bring their equipment and they do shoot while we're in those locations. Um, but yeah, it's mostly like the reason we go to Berlin is like some of the people that run the program like have connections there. And so like we'll be doing an exhibition while we're in Berlin because they know people who have an exhibition space. And then in Tokyo, Chikara is from there, so he has a lot of inside connections. So yeah.
So like you're focusing on the work, but in your spare time, you could go out and do what
Absolutely, yeah.
you just want to bring that back into the class type.
Yeah, I mean, maybe later on you would, but probably not during. I know a lot of people, like, for instance, they went to Japan like a couple weeks early. I'm sure they were still shooting while they were in Japan. Yeah. All right. Any more questions? Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about price tag, and financial assistance or scholarships? So, I mean, because you looked at a bunch of programs, so I'm sort of just interested in,
Yeah,
what's the range?
absolutely. Yeah, so the three programs that I got into, they were like pretty different, like price, they like kind of represent like three different like ranges. Um, well, I mean, technically RIT is more expensive, but they gave a lot of aid. And so like I basically would have gone there for like next to nothing. And then Hartford's kind of in the middle. Because it's not like a full-time in-person program, they don't have the same costs associated with it. So it is, I think, about a third of the cost of RISD, but you have to factor in that you will be doing quite a bit of international travel. Again, I don't think that adds up to like the same amount as like an institution like RISD. And then RISD, you would pay like $200,000 to get an MFA, which is not really feasible these days. Um, especially given what you're gonna make as a professor afterwards, so. And they give some aid, but it's really not substantial. So I picked the middle of the road, which I feel like is good because Hartford has such an amazing network of people that like are associated with it, and a lot of really amazing people have come out of the program. So like Tamara Reynolds, who lives here in Nashville, she did the program a couple years ago, and I think it really set her career off. So it's great.
Can you go back to your pictures? I think there was one towards the beginning that I really, really liked. It was kind of like the one I asked you about to begin with. There was like tall grass or something like that.
Is it this one?
Yes,
Okay.
I love that. I mean, I don't have any questions. I just love it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures too. The light is amazing and the detail is great.
Is it a corn?
Yeah, it's a cornfield. It was just like driving around Hartford, and like that was on the side of the road and I just hopped out, grabbed it.
It's a good Halloween picture too.
It is. The corn maze could get stuck in there.
So you don't think you would have printed it that dark if it hadn't been for Jesse?
Yeah, actually, this edit is a lot lighter than I printed it, which brings me to the prints that I brought. But I believe that the print is quite a bit darker. Yeah. So you're like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the highlights, you know. Yeah, gorgeous. Nice.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, I would maybe have like dodged a little on either side, maybe, but that would be my choice versus his. And then, yeah, everyone's welcome to come and I'll spread these out.
Hold them up before we do that, because I know we're gonna be all proud of.
Yeah, so these are the color images that I shot there.
So these are basically the ones that you showed us.
Yeah, but these are C printed, so
Uh-huh.
these are,
Right.
darker and printed.
Got it. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, something about the coloring on a C print is just wonderful.
And C stands for chromogenic.
Yeah, chromogenic.
Was that just the moonlight on the tree, or was it?
This was a blue street light.
Huh.
What's your thought with this one?
This one, I'm really interested in like manufactured landscapes. I just think it's like so absurd that someone like plopped this rock here, or maybe they didn't, but they like then made a whole like thing around it, and I just think that the borders that we put up around things that are like supposed to be natural are really interesting to me.
That looks like a poodle almost.
It does, right?
Yeah.
This was just like right on the campus, like right when you drove in to the art school, and I was like, what's that there for me? I don't know. Yeah, and then there's. This one, there's
That's
a
cool.
bird's nest, but it's like, you know, deep in there. And then, yeah, there's more, so these are the photographs that I made while, we were there, and then the rest of these are the photographs that I like brought with me. So these are a lot larger. They're printed here in Nashville. I use the Make Nashville darkroom.
Where's that?
It's over, by Shelby.
Yeah, it used to be the old, used to be the,
If anyone
Nashville
wants,
community dark.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, they moved the Nashville Community Darkroom, like, and it got absorbed by Make, but if anyone wants a tour, I'd be happy to give everyone one.
Well, we live around the Nashville.
No, I showed her.
We had a show.
Yeah, if people just wanna come up here, and-
Keep doing it.
Okay.
but we can,
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte.
And there was another one I wanted to ask you about.
okay, hold on, let me, okay.
There's no sound on Zoom.
There's no picture either. It's just black and with words.
Yeah, if you scroll over to the multi-screen view, you can see them, but there's no sound.
Oh yeah, I see it, Kimberly. Thanks.
Thank everyone for attending. I think we're gonna close it out now. And we'll see you all next time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I was like, I need to do this 23 and like. Because I was like, and I'm trying to see.
Never knew what you
Especially right now because getting like 20 cards.
Especially with